Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with my little dog today. If you hear him chewing his little yak stick, that'll be why. But I felt bad leaving him downstairs today, so he's joining me, and we're going to be talking all about gut health. And I have a few listener questions. We're going to be covering things like candida and how to get rid of candida, bone broth, whether it's good for everyone, and who are the people that it might not be suitable for, daily staples that I do for my gut health, how to keep my gut healthy now that I've healed it, how to start working on your gut if you are sensitive or if certain antimicrobials or certain probiotics aren't tolerated, especially with H. pylori. So if you have H. pylori, what are some of the diet, lifestyle, nutrition things that you can do if you aren't in the place yet that you can tolerate like a killing phase? So we're going to cover those things and a few more. This was an Instagram live that I did a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to share it on here as well. So I hope you enjoy. And again, hopefully we don't have many distractions from Norman throughout this episode. But yeah, thank you for listening, and let's get into it. Hello from me and Norman. Welcome to the gut health Q&A. I'm going to see how long I can keep him here for. Entertained. He's got his little yak chew stick, but it might be a little bit noisy. So yeah, hoping that he calms down. I'm just saying we've got Norman here. It's all your friends, Norman, all your fans. He's trying to pick up everything from my bookshelf, but if he gets too much, I'll take him out. But he is just exploring the room right now. And I've got some questions today that were pre-submitted on the subject of gut health. So we've got things like questions on candida, questions on bone broth, staples that I do every single day for my gut health, how to work on your gut if you're very sensitive. But if you are joining me live and you have questions, you can pop them in the question box and I'll make sure to get to them. But yeah, thank you for joining. I've not done an Instagram live for a few weeks, but I want to do them more often. If you're enjoying them, let me know. I did a Q&A on hormone health recently. But yeah, I like connecting in person, and I might use this as a podcast episode eventually as well. Hello, Alison. Hello, Chloe and Prerna. A few of my clients are here, which is lovely to see. But let's get into it. If you have questions, you want to talk all about gut health, digestion, just you want to put some questions in the comment section, you can. But the first question was pre-submitted, and it was someone asking about candida. So how to change, well, I'm going to approach it from a few different ways. So candida, for those who don't know, is a normal natural part of our gut flora and our immune system. Norman, he's already distracted. Norman, get your stick. So it's a normal natural part of our gut microbiome, but it can become overgrown in certain situations, like when the immune system is down. There's states of people like in hospital where they're immunocompromised. So this is the severe state where the yeast can then take over the body because the defenses are low. But in my clients, it's not that extreme. It's just that they have this weakened immune system, they have other imbalances in the gut, and then it starts to wreak havoc. Some of the symptoms of candida overgrowth can be brain fog, sugar cravings, yeast infections in women, or like a jock itch, fungal rash of the groin in men, can be fungal nails, dandruff, acne, can all be linked. So it can affect pretty much every system of the body. And if someone does have a yeast overgrowth of the skin or vaginal tract or even the white coated tongue, that can be candida linked to, it's usually stemming from the main microbiome, which is the gastrointestinal tract. So your large intestine, your small intestine, that usually houses the majority of our gut flora. And then that has a knock-on effect on all of these other microbiomes of the system. So when treating it, you obviously want to do some localized targeted treatment, whether it is some oral things for oral thrush or something on the scalp to help with the microbiome there. But it all comes down to the gut microbiome as the most important area to treat. So there's different forms of yeast, there's different forms of candida. The most well known and spoken about is Candida albicans, and you can test for it in a couple of different ways. There's no perfect test, but with my clients, I use GI map stool testing. I will say with that though, it's not the most accurate test. So when it does show up for Candida, it is going to be more significant. I have some people who have obvious Candida overgrowth, they have all of the symptoms, the textbook case, but the stool test comes back negative. And that doesn't mean that they don't have Candida, but when it does come back positive, I know that it's more significant in that person. And then there's another test called an organic acid urine test that can look for metabolites in the urine of different things. So this is a more full body test. The other stool test is just looking at the gut. And the organic acid microbiome test. The organic acid test can look at metabolites from Candida. So if you have a fungal overgrowth anywhere in the body, it can show up on that. So it looks at yeast, Candida, but also some mold markers. So it can be part of the assessment that we use for mycotoxins and mold toxicity. But again, not 100% accurate even for that. When I had mold, my organic acid came up as negative, but then I did a specific mold test and it came back off the chart super high. So you always want to try and confirm your suspicions through questioning symptoms and also a few different testing if it's not 100% clear. That is testing for Candida. And there's a lot of information online about anti-Candida protocols, but they can be very strict, especially with diet and sugar consumption. You definitely want to reduce your refined sugar intake. I think that's a given, and probably most people listening to this or trying to get rid of the Candida have already cut out the junk food, but it can be a difficult thing where because of the nature of Candida, it can literally make you addicted to sugar, and it can keep you eating it even if you know that you're not meant to be eating it. It can be very sneaky that way. Just gonna put Norman on my knee. But I've had clients who they know like what they should be doing, they know what they should be eating, and they don't stock any of this food in the house, but the Candida's that bad that they like go to the shop in the middle of the night and buy loads of junk food, and they literally can't control themselves. It can be that strong, the impact of this bacteria and different bacteria and fungus on the brain. It can take over the brain, control your thoughts, and make sure you go out and eat the sugar. So as much as possible, we want to try and avoid those things, but I know it's easier said than done. And when we reduce our overall carbohydrate intake, if it is excessive at the moment, or we're trying to really reduce quite big fungal overgrowth, we want to make sure that we're eating plenty of high quality proteins and healthy fats and fiber to keep us full. But going too low carb for too long, for one, isn't really addressing the root cause of the Candida, and it can actually weaken the body so much. If you go ketogenic or drastically low carb as a woman, it can start to slow down the metabolism and weaken the immune system and affect the diversity of your gut flora, therefore making it harder to get rid of the Candida. And it's not just sugar that Candida eats and thrives off. When you strip away its food source, it can start to find something else to eat. It can start to live off ketones, apparently. So the key thing with Candida is that you can't starve it out. That is a myth. You can't just eat differently and expect it to go away. You will often have to work on the immune system, and you'll also want to lower the fungal level once it's got to a certain point using supplements and products and that have antifungal properties. Things like powder arco, allicin, which is an extract from garlic, products like neem and berberine, products like caprylic acid, that can help to penetrate the cell linings. It can be quite a stubborn infection, so you want to make sure that you are addressing it in a few different ways. Sometimes cycling the products that you're using can be helpful because it can morph, it can adapt to what you're doing. So I've had clients who start off with some general gut healing work, but then they have to go to more specific antifungal things because it just wasn't enough on its own. And they've had this yeast overgrowth for years sometimes, and it can start to form biofilms when you've had infections for a while. So you might want to do some biofilm reducing agents as well, some systemic enzymes, but it can be cleared. Sometimes even homeopathy can be helpful. Certain probiotics can be helpful as well at crowding out the candida. But the immune system is an important thing that I think gets missed. People are all about killing the candida and reducing, killing it off. But you want to do that. You want to use these products to lower the overgrowth, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your immune system is also coming back online. So you want to make sure you're strengthening your immune system through proper sleep and recovery and stress management and mineral balancing and eating enough food and nourishing yourself. Because if not, if you're in a really depleted state, that is what allows the yeast overgrowth to keep coming back, or you can't fully clear it. That's a really common thing with candida. People say it reoccurs or it's just not changing. And do test and make sure that you're not just basing your diagnosis off symptoms, because things can look different. You might have acne and just be absolutely certain that it's fungal acne, but it might not be. Or you might have what you think is a yeast infection, but what you actually have is bacterial vaginosis, or an imbalance like a protozoa overgrowth in the vaginal tract. So always confirm, always double check if the treatment that you're doing isn't working or you feel a little bit stuck. The last thing I'd say with candida is the mineral connection. So I offer the mineral balancing course, I'm Balanced, and you get a complimentary HTMA within that, which is my favorite functional lab test. And the main minerals that are connected with candida are going to be ones that affect the immune system, like zinc, like sodium and potassium. That's just for cellular energy in general. And elevated levels of copper or heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, lead can be found in people with persistent fungal overgrowths. So they can directly fuel the yeast proliferation. They can suppress the immune system so that your own immune system can't get rid of it. And the high copper, even though it's a natural, healthy, normal mineral, when it's in high amounts or it's what's called bio-unavailable, it can mean that you can't fight off the yeast infection or the yeast overgrowth properly. Copper is antifungal, it's antimicrobial, but a lot of people have copper imbalances these days for a number of different reasons. Plant-based vegetarian diets are at higher risk, as are women in general, because of the estrogen connection. So my mineral balancing course, I'm Balanced, could be really good if you are struggling with candida, if you haven't explored minerals or you haven't done an updated test in a while, because it can take a while to really see what's going on and start to shift things. So it can help with two ways, the immune system side of things, but also the specific antifungal fighting nature. So I hope that helps for question 1. Again, if anyone's joining live and you have questions on gut health, digestion, leaky gut, any of that good stuff, IBS, pop it in the chat section. Question 2 is bone broth good for the gut? And this is completely bio-individual to the person, because for some of my clients, yes, absolutely, it's amazing. It can help with regenerating the gut lining. It's rich in amino acids that help to soothe inflammation and repair damage that's done. It's high in minerals. But for other people like myself, when I used to make my own 48-hour slow-cooked bone broth with grass-fed beef bones, it was actually one of the worst things that I could have done for my health in general, my inflammation levels in my gut, because that food is very high in histamines or amines, which is a food compound. And I had histamine overload and mast cell activation, which is kind of like histamine intolerance on steroids, and it would just make me completely crazy. It gave me migraines, acne breakouts, headaches, itchy skin. Norman, stop. Itchy skin, just major anxiety, redness, burning, scalp inflammation. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I heard that this is good for gut health. Why am I having these symptoms? And I thought that it was a detox reaction from what I was reading years ago and decided to push through. But then I realized it's actually a histamine response and this food is not good for me. There are ways to change it a little bit. So if you cook more of a broth rather than Norman, get down. If you cook more of a broth rather than a very slow cooked, long cooked bone broth, well, more of a stock, sorry, than a broth, could be better tolerated. So you could use the bones or just the meat, and for a couple of hours with some veggies, rather than the very long, slow cooked option. Hi, Donna. And Lady J Holistic said bone broth elevates my histamines. Yeah, same here. It might be fine for you in future, so don't rule it out completely where you think it's not suitable for you and it's the worst food in the world, because it might just be where you're at right now. So we don't want to create these associations where we're thinking that something's never going to be fine for us, because our bodies can be completely different over time. But it wasn't good for me either. And there's so many other ways to heal the gut without bone broth. Even collagen powder could be a good option. For some people, it's still quite high in histamine, but for me, it was absolutely fine. So collagen powders could be good, or gelatin. You can make your own jellies. I have, I think, a recipe on my Instagram highlight from a while ago now, but it's made with things like coconut water or orange juice. But they can be less histamine-y than bone broth. You could just eat more gelatinous cuts of meat in general. So with slow cooked beef cheeks or lamb shanks, just anything that's got the skin, the like meatier parts, and all the different ligaments and everything. You want to slow cook it. They're usually the cheaper cuts, which works well, but you're getting a lot of the same benefits. So you can definitely heal your gut without bone broth. Works for some people, doesn't work for others. It's just about experimentation and seeing how you feel. So give it a few days on bone broth. If you want to make your own, there's loads of recipes online, or there's really good companies now that you can buy ready-made bone broth and they've done all the work for you. Brands like Ossa, Organics, or Kettle and Fire, if you're in the US, are some trusty brands. But if you try it, and don't go into it expecting that you're going to feel bad, but if you try it and you feel a little bit more headachy or itchy, or like your sinuses are a bit more congested, it could be a histamine response. Or if you have a history of more allergic tendencies, hay fever, migraines, eczema, then you might not be a good candidate right now. But if you give it a try and you feel good, you would start slowly anyway, just build it up. Don't start having a litre of it every day. But yeah, just see how you feel with that. I just want to take a quick pause to ask you a really important question. Where do you want your health to be in 6 months' time? More energized, feeling comfortable in your skin and body again, excited for life because you're finally starting to see improvements with your health, or frustrated and depressed because you're still struggling with symptoms, which are taking over your life and stopping you from living life to the full. If you want the first option, you're going to have to do something different. After all, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over again and expecting a different result. If you're DIYing your health, meaning trying to heal yourself through researching, trial and error, wasting a lot of money and time in the process, then you could be sabotaging your results. Would you try and fix your car if it broke and you didn't know what was wrong with it? No. So why are you trying to do it all alone when it comes to the most important thing that we have in our life, our health? Trust me, actually asking for help and investing in yourself saves you time, money, and a lot of stress in the long run. I know you're probably not getting any answers or support from your doctor. I've been there too. That's why I created my 6-month signature hormone reset package. This one-to-one coaching package offers the highest level of support and transformation as we'd be closely working together to identify and address the underlying root causes of your health issues. Even if you're already eating healthy and taking supplements, there's so much more to healing, so don't feel like you've tried it all. Let me help you figure out what's causing your stubborn symptoms and support your body in healing naturally, which, in case no one has ever told you, is completely possible. Check out my website, which is linked in the episode show notes for more information, and the links to apply or book an enrollment call are there if you want to chat further. If you've been looking for a sign, this is it. Question number 3 is, what's some daily staples that I do every day for my gut health and digestion? I have a few. I've made some notes because I usually forget the most important ones when I'm doing it on the fly. So I would say mindful eating is a big one for me. I am not perfect with it, but I really try to emphasize it as much as possible because it makes the world of a difference for everyone. So this has become like a definite habit now and a non-negotiable, but I don't drink a lot of fluids at meal times. I always make sure to separate my drinks and my food by at least half an hour either way. So if I'm having a cup of tea in the evening, I'll have it at least 30 to 60 minutes after my food. Or if I need like a big glass of water, if I've not drunk anything, I'll make sure to have it at least 30 minutes before food, because when you combine them together, it can really dilute your stomach acid and weaken digestion. Mindful eating is usually more than that. So mindful eating is just being really present with your food, eating in a relaxed state, chewing your food extremely well till it's fully broken down in the mouth before swallowing it. You want to make sure that you are not on your emails or trying to do work at the same time. I always give myself a proper lunch break and try to schedule client calls so that I have at least 30 minutes to sit and eat lunch, so I'm not rushing from one thing to the next. Make sure if you are currently compromised with your gut that you're eating a lot of easy to digest, simple, warm cooked foods. Things like soups, stews, curries, slow cooked meat, mashed vegetables, mashed potatoes, rather than big bowls of salad and raw vegetables and nuts and seeds. Just it takes less pressure off the gut. Whereas now in winter, I'll definitely eat more of the warm cooked foods, but I can handle salads and things now. But I don't crave them, and I wouldn't really eat them a lot in winter. So I eat as seasonally as possible. I eat as organically as possible. And the less that your food has traveled, the less time that your food has just been sat around on the supermarket shelf, the more nutritious it is, and the less pesticides you're going to be exposed to when you choose organic, because pesticides are antibiotic in nature. They kill very tiny organisms, and we have trillions of those inside our gut. It's called our beneficial gut flora. I try to manage my stress as much as possible through breathing exercises, morning routines, the type of exercise that I do. Exercise has been shown to help with your gut health, not only the motility, but also the diversity of the gut bacteria. I play with my dog, little Norman. He's good for my gut health when he licks my face, and shares all of his lovely bacteria with me. And they found that families with a dog or kids who grew up on a farm, they have healthier gut microbiomes, and less risk of asthma, allergies, atopic disease. And then those who had very sterile, clean freak parents often have the highest rates of allergies because of the hygiene hypothesis and how we need to be exposed to these things to have a healthy, strong immune system. And I do spend quite a bit of time outside. I'll get my feet on the ground. Just getting fresh air and going for walks in nature will help with gut health too, from the stress side of things, but also just the environment, microbiome side of things. And then I also do take probiotics on a regular basis. It is one I take very commonly, but at minimum, I'll do one bottle every 2 to 3 months, but sometimes of the year I'll just really want to take them every single day, and that's absolutely fine. My favorite probiotics are spore-based probiotics, brands like Megaspore, or if you're in the US, Thrive Probiotic, I think that's still around. could be a good one. Next question is how to start working on your gut if most stuff isn't tolerated. So this was a similar question was asked by two people. So I will answer it generally, and then one person asked specifically about H. pylori, which is a bacteria that lives in the stomach, and its way of surviving is by weakening your stomach acid. And that is really bad for us because we need strong stomach acid to digest and absorb our nutrients and get some of those minerals like iron and calcium out of the food. We need it to disinfect and sterilize our food. So we are exposed to tons of bacteria and pathogens every day from what we're eating. Even in organic vegetables, it doesn't need to be from sushi or pork products. We can get them from carrots that are fresh out the ground. And we need to sterilize that with very strong stomach acid. So when we have H. pylori, it weakens the stomach acid, so it makes the stomach environment more alkaline, and it can then lead to more infections in the gut. I'm just looking at Norman. You can go soon. Come back. Lady J Holistic says, Seeking Health has one for people with high histamines. It's great. Yeah, the Seeking Health Probiotic Histamine X, it's called, has strains in there that are low histamine because some probiotics have high histamine strains, and it can help to lower histamine as well. And then the Megaspore one is kind of just neutral. It's not going to directly lower histamine, but it's just well tolerated, and it can help with improving the gut microbiome and any of those yeast or bacteria overgrowths that might be causing the high histamine in the first place. Because the thing is with histamine is that it's a symptom. It's not Norman, no. He's trying to get out. I might let him out soon. It's not a root cause. It is just more of a symptom. So when you have mineral imbalances and magnesium deficiency and parasite infections in the gut, that can all produce histamine. And then when you eat extra histamine from your diet, it can just push your levels too high. It can overflow the bucket, so to speak, and then we can get symptoms from that. So the H. pylori has some separate recommendations, but I'll just answer the first question to begin, which is like, how do we work on our gut when most stuff isn't tolerated? And this is where the lifestyle and nutrition and things like nervous system work comes in, because a lot of the supplements for killing parasites and everything, they're just too strong when you're in that state. So you really do have to heavily rely on the foundations, which is important. I'd rather someone do that, honestly. So there might actually be a bit of a blessing in that situation where you're forced to work on these foundational things rather than just trying to reach for the next supplement, and try and find like the magic cure-all supplement, because it doesn't exist. And a lot of people who can tolerate supplements often find that the foundational lifestyle things were what made the biggest difference anyway. So when these people, you want to focus on your diet and your nutrition, and getting as much, like as many minerals and nutrients in as possible, a lot of protein. Be mindful of the carbohydrates and the types of oils that you're eating and exposed to, the types of fats. If you're using a lot of, or exposed to a lot of artificial flavorings and preservatives and sweeteners, they can be damaging to the gut. You want to try and eat organic because of the pesticide connection that I said earlier. Things like organ meats can be really helpful. You can usually introduce things like fresh herbs. Dried herbs can be a little bit more high histamine if that's an issue, but fresh herbs like oregano, coriander or cilantro. I'll do all of the English American names. Things like garlic, if you can tolerate that. These are natural antimicrobials. So if you do know that you have an overgrowth in the gut, and maybe that is contributing to your sensitivity, but it's like a difficult line where it's like, I can't really tolerate that, but I really need it. You can go with food-based things, like don't forget the power of food. Food is medicine. And what, not only removing things, so removing foods if you know that they are contributing to inflammation. If you're not already gluten-free, strictly, I would say that, because a lot of people struggle with gluten sensitivity. But yeah, try the fresh herbs just for some natural antimicrobial action. And then on the lifestyle piece, it's the mindful eating. So avoiding the fluids around meal times. You want to eat in a relaxed state. You want to get good quality sleep. You want to spend time outside. You want to work on your nervous system because this could be where the sensitivity is coming in as well, nervous system dysregulation. Or there's a term cell danger response, which is common in the chronic illness and very sensitive client world where your body is just stuck in this reactive state no matter what you're doing. And to get out of that, there's going to be tools like EFT tapping, or it could be looking at programs like Primal Trust or DNRS that look at this underlying nervous system imbalance and try to regulate that as much as possible and stop seeing everything in the environment as stressful or a threat or dangerous. You might not consciously be thinking of that, but if your subconscious is living in fear for one reason or another, that can manifest as not being able to tolerate foods, being chemically sensitive, being sensitive to trying new supplements. Even like a sprinkle of a new thing could be enough to trigger someone. So a lot of nervous system and mindset work. And just being mindful of your language. If you're constantly telling yourself you're sensitive, this is harmful, this is causing inflammation, you're always going to be like this, you're too complex, then you're just reaffirming that belief. So just being mindful of what you're saying, but also what's repeating in your head. And if you do have a limiting belief come up where you don't actually believe that you can, Norman, stop. Where you actually don't believe that you can heal. Hang on, I'm just going to let him downstairs 1 sec. Sorry about that, guys. I tried to be all cute having him on Instagram, but he just won't settle. So he's downstairs in his bed. So yeah, what I was saying is the nervous system piece, the limiting belief side of things. If you catch your thought and it's like you're never going to heal, you're too sensitive, too complex, you're too old for this, or you're too far gone, then really working on that limiting belief and start to question it. Like, have I always been this way? Probably not. You've probably tolerated a lot of things when you were a kid. Is this something that someone's told you? So have you just been told over and over again from your friends and family or your doctor that you're just this sensitive person, and then you've just believed it and now your body's living out that truth? Do you have examples of other people who've been able to heal, and just surrounding yourself with proof and evidence and signs that you're progressing? So maybe last year you couldn't tolerate something else and now you can. Just showing that your body can heal is really important. But yeah, you might need some more expertise, support on that side of things because it can be quite challenging. But yeah, it's forcing you to look deeper at the lifestyle and nutrition stuff as opposed to the supplements. You might even be able to tolerate some detoxification support, so making sure that you're drinking enough fluids and you're getting enough minerals in through your food, doing a mineral test to see what's going on there. And yeah, just figure out why you are in this really sensitive situation, because that's not normal to be stuck in that state and it could be holding you back. So you might have a lot more work to do eventually, but in order to get there, it might take you a while to figure out exactly what's going on. For me, it was driven by mast cell activation syndrome, so I was just reacting to everything. And the cause of that, because that's still a symptom, was mold exposure and Lyme related bacteria in the system. So working on those things, it's meant that my tolerance has massively increased, and I'm always going to have the genetic susceptibility to histamine conditions because I have the DAO SNP, I have the HMNT SNP, which means that when my body is a bit imbalanced, it tends to have higher histamine levels. So I can't change that, but I can change how those genes express through how I'm taking care of myself. And during those times, I would back off the histamine-rich foods because that would just be adding fuel to the fire. So mold, SIBO, Lyme, for me, activated MCAS, yeah, exactly the same. I had the same triggers, unfortunately. And then this person who was also asking about the H. pylori, along with all of those things that I just mentioned, because all of that is relevant, there are some non-antimicrobial products that can help to eradicate H. pylori that aren't these killing products like biocidin or wormwood or garlic. There's some more gentle things, but if you are very sensitive, obviously, you want to try them slowly or work with a practitioner who can help you. Sometimes H. pylori can cause gastritis or ulcers or a lot of upper GI inflammation, pain. If you have any of those symptoms and it's really causing a lot of irritation to the gut lining, you can do some soothing products and herbs like slippery elm, marshmallow, even cabbage juice, sort of cabbage leaves juice. And there's a very like specific compound in there called vitamin U. And some supplements do put that in, like a cabbage extract, but you can do it on the cheap and just literally juice some cabbage. May not taste the best, but will really help to soothe that inflammation. So you could tolerate those things. And then for H. pylori specifically, the fresh herbs in food could be useful. Garlic in your diet, turmeric, honey, bee products, manuka honey specifically can be helpful, but also things like bee pollen and royal jelly, just honey bee products in general can help with H. pylori. There's some probiotics that are specific to H. pylori. The strain L. reuteri can be good because it's been clinically studied to get rid of H. pylori, and it's nothing too strong that's going to be killing the bug when maybe the body's not ready for that and you're not taxing your liver and your digestion too much. Another product that's been shown time and time again to help with H. pylori is Matula tea, and this is a blend of different herbal formulas. And yeah, I've never tried it personally, but apparently it's pretty gentle for H. pylori. And then what else have we got? Digestive enzymes could be useful just while you're working on regaining that sensitivity. And eventually you may need to use some antimicrobials or antibiotic-like products. But in the short term, along with that nervous system regulation stuff and quality sleep and just letting your body rebuild, digestive enzymes could be useful. I would make sure that it's HCl free, so it doesn't contain any hydrochloric acid, because if you do have inflammation in the stomach or in the intestines, adding acid to that might not be the best idea. So a HCl free formula, and the one that I like is by Pure Encapsulation, and it's Digestive Enzymes Ultra that can just help you to break down your food and at least make sure that you're absorbing some of the nutrition from your meals. And then final thing that I don't think is spoken about a lot is the connection between oral health and H. pylori. So it might be that you are managing to clear it in the gut okay with your immune system, but in the mouth it might be stemming from the oral microbiome, and you swallow liters of saliva every day. So as part of any gut healing protocol, but definitely with H. pylori, I always make sure with clients to address the oral microbiome. So it might be things like coconut oil pulling. If you don't have any metal fillings, that's the only caveat with that one. It's not suitable if you have mercury amalgams, because it can just leach some of the metal when you're using the oil pull-in. And you can do things like tongue scraping, so you can get a stainless steel tongue scraper from Amazon and just make sure that you're doing that every morning after brushing. You can use a water pick or water flosser throughout the day or before you brush, just to help with any food residue in the teeth, or general flossing, a fluoride-free toothpaste, all the general things that I talk about. Rinsing your mouth with water after eating can just help to keep the oral health good. But there are some specific antimicrobials. I have a spam comment. It's not really someone I know. What do you think of the fermented dandelion extract for gut health? I think it tastes rank, but it's gonna be good for you. So if you saw my Instagram stories the other day, I tried a little, well, it's not little, it's a huge bag actually, that I gifted to some of my workshop attendees, and it's one of the worst things I've ever tasted. So apologies to everyone who got that. I'd actually never tried it before, but dandelion can be really good for the liver. And then my brother's friend got it and he was like, what the hell is this? But it'll be good for your liver, Alex, so please continue. It'll help with your pizza that you had for dinner. Alison's laughing. I don't think Alison's tried it yet, but I'd love to know how you get on. If you do a video taste test, we can all show our disgust for that product. But yeah, last thing I was going to say, if anyone's got any questions, by the way, I see a few people are on live. If you have questions on gut health, digestion, anything like that, things about probiotics, about different food diets that you've heard of, different products, leaky gut, all of that good stuff, I'm going to stay on if I have any questions. But if not, Alison's going to try it on her stories. I can't wait to see your face. But the last thing with the oral health and H. pylori is that there are some antimicrobial products that you can use within your brushing routine. The one that I think of first is by a company called Biobotanical Research or Products, but they have a gut supplement called Biocidin, and then they have a mouth formulation, oral health formulation called Dental Sidin or Dentacidin. And any clients, I see a few clients on, but you can get hold of this on Amrita nutrition website, the supplement website, but it might be a practitioner only product, so you'll have to double check. But just something that's going to help to regulate the oral microbiome is what you're looking for long-term relief of H. pylori, because if not, it can be transferred. It can be something that you get reinfected with if you are in a relationship with someone or you're living in a household with someone who has H. pylori and you're trying to get rid of it, then you want to make sure that you avoid like transferring saliva or anything like that, sharing cutlery for a period of time until you've cleared it and you've then built up your defenses again. And then for this person, I'm not sure their level of sensitivity, but something else that could be useful for H. pylori that isn't a kill harsh formulation, but it can be, it depends. Some people are absolutely fine with it. Some people, they do have a reaction and they get like a detox response, is the Toxaprevent treatment protocol for H. pylori. So it's these binder formulations and they're like these little sachets, and then for 5 days you would do a lot of these sachets in the morning. It's this whole routine that I do with clients, but this can be pretty effective. And then I will say some cases of H. pylori do require antibiotics because it's just so stubborn, and if it's causing things like ulcers or gastritis, some people are fine with proper antibiotics, but they have more reactions to the herbal-based formulation. So it's custom and bio-individual to everyone. So there are some people who would be much better actually doing antibiotics for situations like this, or even parasite infections. If it's really bad and it's causing a lot of diarrhea or a lot of pain and malabsorption, sometimes it is just worth doing a week or two on regular antibiotics. And that's coming from a holistic practitioner who tries to avoid them as much as possible. So we don't want to demonize them. We want to use them when it's absolutely necessary. And this could be one of those times. But I would try the other things first and have that as a last resort if possible. So that is all of those are all the questions that I had pre-submitted. I'll give you a couple of minutes now if you want to ask anything about gut health, digestion, any symptoms that you're having, candida, parasites, yeast overgrowth. We've covered today help for candida. Is bone broth good for the gut if you're just tuning in and you want to watch it back? Daily staples that I do for my gut health and how to work on your gut health, and things like H. pylori infection if you are very sensitive. But I will maybe do more of these lives. If you enjoyed them, please let me know. Write me a comment and I might do them on different subjects like thyroid health, stress, adrenal health, minerals. So do let me know. But if there are no questions, I will head off because it is getting late here. Lady J would love more IG lives. Amazing. Thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely do that. I think it's just nice because I do the podcast, but it's nice just to see someone. Becky, thumbs up. Yeah, it's just good to see someone live and chat in person. And Sam, yes, please more. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's really helpful. I will plan to do more, and I have on my to-do list maybe a little EFT session as well on Instagram Live. Either Instagram Live or stories, I've not decided, but I want to do a few EFT tapping sessions as well. So maybe something on gut health or any particular symptoms, or I could end the live with a little tapping section, if that could be useful. Olivia says yes. More, please. Oh, I have a few questions. I think we're on a bit of a delay. So I'll stay on a couple more minutes. So Olivia's asking, can a constant runny nose be related to a gut issue? Yeah, I would say it could be linked to food sensitivities. It's something going on with your immune system, which is primarily located in your gut. So about 70% of your immune system's in your digestive tract. So if something's irritating your immune system or your digestion, it can show up as runny nose or itchy skin, or some people get like itchy ears, itchy scalp, flushing. These can be signs of a food reaction. So pay attention to when it's happening. Is it every single meal, or is it certain meals? Is it when you're eating spicy food, or is it when you're eating high histamine foods? You might not know what they are, but just pay attention to when it's happening, either more, because it might be every meal, but just when it's really excessive, what were you eating then? And I'd be interested in knowing more about your other symptoms, if they also point to gut/immune problems. But pay attention to that. That's just not an annoying random thing that happens. That's your body trying to communicate with you. And it does that. But people just think, oh, I just have a really drippy nose and it's a structural thing. But your body's trying to tell you something. It's maybe not liking something that you're eating, or it has this bacterial imbalance in the gut at the moment. And if you don't listen to it, or you don't think it's a problem, then it's gonna continue, and then it will start to manifest as other things as well. So try and catch it now, Olivia, while you can. Alison's asking, going back to oral health, can mercury fillings affect the gut? Yeah, definitely. And I was saying about mercury fillings before, how oil pulling isn't a good thing to do when you have mercury fillings. It's good for everything else, really helpful for teeth whitening and gut health and everything. But when you have mercury fillings, that's when you want to avoid oil pulling. But mercury is a neurotoxin. If you have metal fillings in your teeth, it's inches away from your brain. And mercury is one of the top neurotoxins, meaning nervous system, brain toxins that there is. And I heard a little story once. I can't remember who it was. This was years ago on a podcast, but it was talking about like environmental pollutants and heavy metals. And they said that, I think it was like the Environmental Protection Agency, if they put one filling in a huge lake of water, they would have to close it down because it would be like that hazardous to the fish and the wildlife. So that's just one filling, and people have a mouthful of mercury fillings. The good thing is dentists are slowly getting away from them, but they're still not admitting the harmful effects, because the whole industry would just explode if they finally admitted that it's really harmful what they're doing. So mercury, yeah, it can affect the thyroid, the immune system. These heavy metals, they can act like poisons in the body, so they can affect every system, every enzyme that's happening. So definitely digestion, or even just in indirect ways, the effect that they have such a strong affinity to the thyroid. So when the thyroid slows down, the digestion slows down, it can affect the gut lining, it weakens your stomach acid levels and your digestive enzyme production. These poisons or heavy metals can promote the growth of yeast overgrowth. There's a big connection between yeast and metals. Some people believe that parasites in yeast kind of accumulate and overgrow to try and protect you from metals, which is very interesting. So, Alison, if you have metal fillings, you want to aim to get them removed over the next few years. It can be pretty pricey, and you want to go to a holistic/biological dentist to get that done. My top recommendation would be for you, being like up north, Dr. Seb in Huddersfield or Yorkshire area. He's one of the best in the country, honestly, so you don't have to travel down to London to do that, but you want to get them done properly. But even if you've got multiple, you might want to do it in a staged process. And with you being a client, I'll definitely support you holistically before and after. to make sure it's all safe. But it's a really important thing for just long-term health and reducing risk for things like Alzheimer's even. And then I think last question I'm going to do is from Lady J Holistic. My throat has been making a lot of phlegm for over a year after COVID, mostly after all meals. So this is going to be similar to Olivia's question about the runny nose. I think it's a very similar response, either a histamine response or something is aggravating your immune system at the moment. It can definitely be COVID, this long COVID picture. A lot of people are ending up with histamine and mast cell issues post-COVID or post-V-vax. So yeah, similar things. Work on the things that I've been talking about today that I said daily staples for gut health. You need to start there, chewing your food, managing your stress, getting outside, and working on your nervous system, your mindset, your beliefs, improving your nutrition intake through your food, using food as medicine, all of that. But if you're doing all of the basics and you need further support, just let me know because there's so much more that I could go into. And you want to know what's going on in your gut first with a practitioner. So a skilled practitioner can often pick up on certain patterns and when did it exactly start, what was going on around that time, what are your specific set of symptoms? Does that indicate more parasites versus yeast versus viruses? They can usually go together, but if someone's unsure or you just want to see on paper what's going on, then a stool test or an organic acid urine test can be really good at seeing that. Looking at the minerals even after you've had an infection, like COVID, viral infection, it can really tank your mineral levels. So you want to make sure that you've fully recovered from that because it can take years otherwise, and it might not be possible just with a healthy diet. You might need to do some strong supplementation. You might have some heavy metals have accumulated and they're depleting your minerals and they're causing this overgrowth in the gut to happen. So yeah, there's a few different mechanisms behind that, but it's another little sign from your body that something's off at the moment. And so I hope that helped. Hello to Hannah and Daisy who have joined, but I'm gonna hop off now. I need to take Norman for a little walk. I think that's what he was scratching at the door for. He needs to go out now. And I hope you all have a lovely evening or rest of your day, whatever you're up to. And I will be back very soon. And if you want to comment, this will be uploaded onto my feed. If you want to comment what you want to see next for the subject, I've already done one on hormones couple of months ago. But if you want something on PMS or minerals or thyroid, please let me know. Thank you, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.